going on, YouTube world? Steve, Benny, Dave, IRP. Episode, 148, somewhere in there, 149, 148.
Well, it says 148, but since we didn't have 147...
We're 147. Keep on. Hopefully get our topic tonight underway. But other than that, is everybody up? Been up to?
Same old shit, different day. To be brutally honest, I hadn't picked up anything. Had to buy a new dishwasher. Still haven't installed it yet. Why in the world things don't come already pre-wired for power these days is beyond me. So had to order that. Scheduled for pickup for the 18th. I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. So we ordered it off of Amazon. So hopefully tomorrow I will get the new dishwasher installed. Rearranging the office, or starting to rearrange the office, I should say. Little bits and pieces. So in the next couple of weeks, you'll have a different view. That's why, like, you see the curio cabinet in the corner. So yeah, bits and pieces, having to shift stuff around, ripping up the carpet in here too. My dogs have pretty much like dilapidated the crap out of it. So I did take a 4-day weekend, which was nice. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on since we missed last week's episode. And our guest is having technical difficulties. So hopefully we'll be able to talk with him. Maybe fourth time's a charm. I don't know. We had him during the pre-show and then he froze. So I don't know. It's good to see everybody back, or good to see everybody again. Last week actually kind of worked itself out. Let's face it. Dave was camping. Was on Wi-Fi early on. Things were going okay, and then all of a sudden it's like his Wi-Fi connection dropped. And then he was using data. So we just chit-chatted for a bit. So it kind of worked itself out. We'll try and rehash that episode, I'm guessing, at some point.
Yeah.
Because I know we have, because we knew this one was coming. We have national business conversation at some point this month, hopefully with RBI crew. I know Dave's still trying to solidify when that is.
Yeah, I told Neil, I said, because you won't get a response from Ryan. And again, not that we rip on him, but we can rip on him a little. Neil's the brains of the operation there. Ryan is, I wouldn't say the looks, because that doesn't need to boost his ego. But So I go through Neil. And he's got a lot less on his plate than Ryan. So I said, one episode about a month away, we got to connect to somebody else and try to get that hooked up, and then basically anytime in the next few weeks. And I told them, I said maybe towards the end of the month. Not because we want to get away from like national talk, but because if you listen to their podcast at all, it's a lot of fantasy football chat. They love that shit. They live that shit. I did 20 years ago. I can't do that now. I had my one league last night draft, and then I'll probably have one or two others on ESPN. Just to, again, I try to mix it up, and that way I can follow. It's football's the easiest sport to follow. Least amount of games. You have a gap to the draft because you have the off season starts, and then a month away is the draft. It's not like basketball and hockey. You have the draft, then you have your official, the league year, calendar year roll over. So then you can sign free agents and whatnot. And baseball's goofy because it's like November 18th or 25th or somewhere in there. That starts to like court free agents. Then it's like the 2nd of December. But the draft is pretty much right after the College World Series. So football's the easiest to follow, but it's also I don't get as in depth as they do. So we'll talk about maybe some of the regrets of what they for their keepers. So that's why I want to have it a few weeks out and like shit.
Gotcha.
I should have kept that person instead of this one. And Orlando,
our guest, actually, we can see our guest finally. So we will be bringing him on here just a bit. we were having some major issues. The beauty is Vinny, and the brains is definitely Dave. I'm the
so you know you're
I'm
in
the
a
guy.
World of hurt.
I'm the guy who shovels elephant shit.
You're the guy at the end of Fractured Fairy Tales for Bullwinkle and Rocky pushing the broom after all. Shift in the fucking ground, the parade.
So, Dave, the question is, though, you going to answer that first?
Yeah, I want to get to this at least first. And I don't know, any happy news? I've been able to pick up a player that I've picked up stuff before. It's not a guy I really collected before. But if I stay true to my collecting sense, somebody when I was 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, 15, you couldn't touch with a 10-foot pole because everybody wanted it. And then this was a guy that had a Hall of Fame career. Until I don't know who hit him. Vinny will probably have that. I know Korea was Scott Stevens, but I don't think it was 88 had the same fate. It could have been. And that'd be your cue, Vinny, to chime in with if you knew.
I'm drawing a blank. I'm thinking.
Because I could see, I don't know if it was the Rangers, the Pens. I'm trying to. I can see the hit. I can see the first hit that really took his career into a tailspin, but and there we are. Scott Stevens giving back to the community.
Kasperitis from the Penguins on March 7th, 1998. Over the next 16 months, Lindros would suffer 5 more concussions, as well as a near-fatal collapsed lung on April 1st, 1999. So, and Kasperitis could hit. So,
Yeah, that's
Bless you.
getting trucked. So, Orlando, I've been able to pick up his stuff for pennies on the dollar, in my opinion. I'll show a couple. Too bad Eric wasn't here. A nice Pinnacle Auto. Lindros 88. And the back does not have a lot of flaking. As you can see with that back, that is something that probably would happen a ton. I showed this to Vinny. We both agreed it was a cool-ass card. Like a press conference release.
And we
I mean,
lost him.
more than you'd think it would be. And then you wish it was a little lower numbered, but at the time, all that stuff, you didn't have a lot of autos numbered to pretty much 25, 50, all that. So
We lost him again.
and there's plenty more Orlando, but at some point I'll just do a standalone for that. As I get more, so
Yeah,
I don't
of
know.
course, a few of those you showed while on the shores of Lake Superior.
This is correct. So if you didn't see that and you don't want to take your chance for an NSFW video, which I don't think was anything too bad in there. Did show some, got a bunch more, got some more coming in. Showed Vinny the other night. One that I thought our friendship would end. Seeing what a mirror blue Lindros compared to a mirror blue Lemieux goes for.
quite the healthy difference.
Oh, that I couldn't believe it.
You were the only bidder, right?
No, there's others, but I mean it was, I think 11 others. But still, to literally the price of a blaster now for a mirror blue 96-97 Lindros. And again, this isn't a Kasperitis, a Claude Lemieux, a Oleg Tverdovsky. This isn't one of those players. I mean, yeah, solid career, but this is one of the best of the 90s. So very happy with that. So yeah, that's all my good news. Naomi back in school, so that means trying to figure out when we're going to be able to go to cities next. And that school day would be like the middle of October, like the teachers' conference week or whatever you call it, the MEA up here. So But hopefully try to get down there before that, because, again, I don't want to lose the momentum, even with me catching it. So.
We'd have some happy news if our guest could no longer have technical difficulties.
This is correct.
He was hanging for a bit, all would have been well. But then it's like he just disappeared. And now we're having the same white screen, no camera view. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Damn Ohio.
Oh, no problem, Mike. By the way, I didn't include Topps Chrome Mini in that list, nor did I bother to verify. Just FYI. Just thought I'd throw out that little speck of information in case you were curious. I did have to do a little verification just to play it safe because I didn't want to pass on incorrect information. But I did not do any verification for Topps Chrome Mini. Just figured I'd specify. Yeah, hopefully, at least it used to. I know you could filter based on college too on Beckett. So hopefully that's still an option to where you can do it by year and then do a filter based on college. Create an account just to play it safe too, because you can't filter without an account. And so, come on, let's see a picture. Let's see a picture. Come on, let's see the face. I think we're not gonna see it again. That just blows my mind, though. I mean, I know there for a while, Vinny had issues from time to time, but that was the browser he was trying to use, I thought.
Chrome versus Firefox.
I don't know if it's he swears it has to do with connection speed, which that is extremely odd to me, but then again, if there's certain qualifications that StreamYard allows and disallows, I guess that could be a thing. Of course, we can still touch on the subject. We're just not going to get the major insight that we normally would, which sucks. But it is what it is. Dave's post on Instagram. Dave posted something on Instagram.
I know. Rare. Very rare. I think I even put that in. I don't know if I put it in there or not. There's stuff I'd like to put on there, but I just don't care.
Oh, you're doing some photo dumps.
Well, semi photo dump.
Damn, you wrote a book.
Yeah. You know that happens.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to make sure I go back and actually read that.
Read it later when you're in your Barca lounger and your bureau.
I'll do it when I'm decompressing for the rest of the day after the show. Need to be focusing on this right now and conversing and having conversation and hoping that our damn guest can figure out how to get this to work.
Yeah,
I think
tell him.
last time he was here,
hit the router with a Hall of Fame patch. Maybe that'll work.
I mean, I know he had issues last time, but I don't think it was this bad.
No, they weren't this egregious where it was just fucking abysmal trying to have any connection for more than 2 minutes.
It happened early on, and we were good for, I don't know, a good hour, I think. And then he froze, and it took him a bit to come back. But I don't know. It's weird. Really, Joe? I don't think that's a video you're going to see on the IRP channel, unless Dave chooses to record one, because since he's the brains, I was the honorary
Guinea pig.
Schlub that he asked to be a part of this, I guess.
I showed up and never left.
Yeah, damn it. Yeah. We're still trying to figure out how to get rid of you. It's just not working very well. Yeah, but you're still here. And I don't feel like clicking a button. It wouldn't be the same without you, Vinny. It wouldn't be the same without you. The show has grown and expanded.
Evolved.
Because you being a part of it.
It was rebranded.
Well, like I said, it still blows my mind that in all the national recaps, it wasn't I met Dave, I met Vinny, I met Steve. It was met up with the IRP guys, and then it was our names. So
I think January will be 3 years. 3 years on here on YouTube. Just over January. So Hall of Fame time. Please go and consider yourself, if you would, to vote for the IRP.
You gonna do that now? You gonna do that now, Dave?
Well, it's early on. We got people watching still.
Well,
hopeful anticipation.
Like we said, it was, and this was legitimate. It's like, hey, if you were considering putting in a vote for us as individuals, i.e. myself and Dave, because Vinny's not eligible, as an individual, we would rather you vote for the IRP, save a vote, and then potentially get somebody else who's well-deserving your vote. It wasn't that, yes, it would be cool for us to get in, but it's also giving people an opportunity to work, because if one person votes for the two of us, that's one less person who may or may not be able to get a vote that could be deserving. So if you vote for the show, that gives you an extra vote. So that's kind of our methodology. And before we wait any longer, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And let's hope
this is the last it's the last thing to try. So let's hope that works.
That we get them for a while. Hello, Brad.
Hey, sorry guys, ruining the show because for some reason StreamYard hates.
Shit happens.
I'm going to call my brother the tech guy. And he can't figure it out either. So he had me try this one last thing. So we'll see.
What browser are you using, if you don't mind me asking?
It was always Google Chrome. And then we've tried 2 other ones now because that was his thing. And then he's like, try to go in incognito mode on Google Chrome. That didn't really do anything either. Then he's like, try to use your phone as a mobile hotspot or something, you know. Try that.
Jeez.
Dude, we were trying everything. And the speed on that's really high. But again, when you get on here, you guys wouldn't even come up. And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't get it. So like just for like I use Firefox.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I just tried. Yeah, that's one of the ones I just tried. So it hates my Wi-Fi. So the only way I'm going to have to do it in the future, I think, is find cables and do hardwire.
Yeah, well, as long as you have,
As long as I'm prepared to do it ahead, that's what I'm going to do next time. And that way, I would think you shouldn't have a problem.
well, and if it's not that you have to like strewn a cable across the floor or whatever, hopefully it's like fairly close and you're not.
Yeah, it would be over there. So I think I can do it. But hopefully this works.
So, welcome as always. Our annual tradition, as always, NFL preview show with Brad, who we would consider the football guru when it comes to opinions of transactions. Now, let's face it, Brad's not always right. Neither are any of us.
Like not buying that black diamond Marino. Not having that transaction. Saying.
I lost Dave after that. That was it.
Yeah, you did. That was...
I don't think he sent me a card since. He's done.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. But no,
I
it's
can pick up any of your Hall of Fame shit. Hey, we made a transaction up at the National.
That's true.
So, said if they're going to go to anyone, I want them to go to you. So, but I didn't want to just give them away. The Daniel Thomas, I could give away. The Tannehill or whatever that cool patch was, I could give. Start getting the Mark Clayton and the Dupers. Oh, this is
I hear you.
Zonka. That's a tough road to hoe.
For sure. You gave me good deals.
Good deals only.
hashtag good deals only.
And you could have been the bridge between, if there's one other person that was standing by another person, you could have been that bridge to a fucking nuclear meltdown at the National.
Yep, we were close.
You thought it would have been hot the other day, like that Wednesday and Thursday. Saturday when we saw him, that would have been probably fucking Middle Earth warm.
Yeah,
With the man, there's no one nowhere around.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say we because there wasn't a we. I am glad that Dave came to his senses and was like, yeah, probably not. Thanks for the offer, Brad, but yeah, probably not. Would have made for some good content, though.
Yes.
Well,
because when I saw him later, he didn't have a cameraman with him.
Which is disappointing.
Yep, we did 10 minutes, no camera.
Well, you could have told him on camera. I had one of your biggest fans. Just didn't want to meet you with one of your best friends. Not even know.
So, Dave, I'm going to position the question like I always do, because sometimes you have different thoughts as it pertains to how we want to approach the topic with Brad, so we don't like be stagnant in the approach. What's your thoughts? What's your plans for getting deep into the mind of Brad for this upcoming NFL season?
I want to ask him,
Dave.
season winds down, who's going to be in for that third wild card for baseball?
I'm going to have to go with the Expos. Should be a part of it. Vlad still hitting homers.
Expos and the Kansas City A's, that's two good choices.
That would be my leader in the clubhouse for sure.
Understandable. I want to try to rapid fire as much as we can, just because I don't know Brad's connectivity. I always like going through like division by division. Maybe a more brief synopsis this year until you upgrade your tin can and string.
That's what pisses me off. Is it's fast. If it was slow, I'd be like, "Oh, it sucks." Okay.
Those damn flawless and immaculate and NT Marinos are eyeing up, and internet's like, "Hey, you pay the bill or you get those. I mean, you're not doing both. Come on now. I can give you a 90 Pro set, Marino, and we can call it good, but you're just going to get the circle when it goes to the bid." I'd say off-season. Give me 3 off-season moves that you don't think will work, and give me 2 under-the-radar moves that right now maybe not. They don't look like, oh my God, what great moves. These are big names, but it's something that solidified a particular team.
Okay. Under the radar move would be Lions with Cameron Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley and Gardner Johnson. This whole secondary, because that secondary stunk. So that was a big one. The most overrated one that would work. Let's see. Overrated ones that would work. I don't think it's really bad. I think the Saints, the Derek Carr thing doesn't. I don't think that makes zero difference from last year, really. Now Winston got hurt, so that made it even worse. But to me, about him and Winston would be about the same amount of wins.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one that. Now the Saints have a real easy schedule, so the record might be okay. But I think a lot of people say Aaron Rodgers, but all they need is competent. And he's definitely still competent at 39. So
Yep.
I don't put that in the bad. Yeah, I can't really think of a ton of bad ones. The underrated coaching one is Vic Fangio for the Dolphins. That's a big deal. We're actually play a normal defense and not try to blitz 8 people at the same time all the time. So that should help Xavier Howard not look bad, But yeah, in terms of bad moves, I didn't hate a lot of the off-season moves. I can't really think of anything I hated, but I like the Lions really well. And I think that's really about it. I don't think anybody outside of the Jets getting Rodgers, obviously, enhanced their team so much, Yeah,
No, any movement that was sort of paralleling, or you went up a little, or it's like a very mild teeter-totter.
Right.
Not earth-changing, earth-shattering.
Like the Bears signed a couple linebackers.
Yeah.
That was nice. And DJ Moore was the big headline. So maybe the Bears would be the other winner, I would say. But yeah, that's about it.
I'd say Arizona draft time too for the trading out, getting Houston number 1 next year.
Oh yeah.
That would be another thing. Because again, if they move on from Kyler, which I don't know how they're going to do it, because that contract is.
And this is fascinating because they put him on the PUP to start the year, but he can't come back and get hurt. If he gets hurt, they're on the hook for 3 straight years. It's all guaranteed. So they almost can't play him if they want to move on. So, but he has to also get off the PUP to be cleared to play.
To have any
So we'll
value.
see how committed they are to the rebuild. Is what we're going to find out.
It's going to be interesting out there. It's 2-3 years ago. It looked like that team was on the ascent.
Yes,
Man, did they fucking just absolutely do a 180.
it fell off the cliff.
Oh, they're back to the Cardinals of the mid 2000 or mid 90s. I mean, yeah, you had Rob Moore there, but that was about it. I mean, you're top 5 drafting every year, drafting the wrong person every year. So we'll see what happens there. But, surprise cut the last week or so that did not like re-sign with the corresponding team, either their practice squad or just the team as in general. And then we'll get to Joe's.
The Matt Corral thing really surprised me. After one season, you drafted him like the 2nd round, and I know you got Bryce Young, but you haven't even seen the guy play, and you need a backup in this league. That one completely baffled me. You get a backup quarterback for cheap that you could keep developing. That really shocked me. And now he goes to the Patriots, which he better not be good, you know. But because he may have an opportunity to play at some point this season.
Yep.
That was the biggest shocker, I think, to me. I don't think there was any huge bets that was a big shock. Just the 2 holdouts of Bosa and Chris Jones are the big, and they definitely ain't playing week 1. So,
New.
Mike Evans,
yeah, he wants.
Jonathan Taylor trade fiasco.
Oh, yeah. But, like, that wasn't really surprising because I had the writing on the wall, and the owner's a nutcase.
Well, yeah.
Literally
Versus-
would rather just, for spite, put him on the PUP other than get something traded. It's so weird.
Well,
But
they
you
felt
hold
he was first round caliber.
You hold out,
And
you come back, you leave camp again because of a personal matter.
Uh-huh.
You return again, and then nothing happens for that next week and a half, and then you're basically back to square one because the awesomeness of the Colts to try to ask for draft picks and Jalen Waddle. I'm like, what? That's not even a Madden trade that would happen.
Yeah.
What in God's name is that? I mean, Ursay's usually like drunk, but that's a new level of fucking.
Yeah, it's complete spite. It has to be. Because especially if you have no plans to re-sign him. And now he's going to be so pissed at you where even if you pay him what he wants, he may not re-sign with you.
Yeah, he won't ever do anything with Indy again.
Right.
And I don't think if I'm a player and I'm watching this all unfold, I'm like, why the hell would I want to go there?
Right.
That guy's a fucking loon. I mean, again, yeah, down year, but the whole team was down, obviously, if you're picking at number 4 or whatever.
He's in a pickle because he has to play.
Yeah.
If he gets out this year, he's getting paid half the money he would otherwise. You know? So that's where the pickle is. Like, he has to play this season for his money next season for somebody else.
Can't build value by being out all year.
Right. You're going to get a Dalvin Cook contract if you sit out this season. You know, you're going to get a 1-year incentive laden kind of thing. Yeah. So, and then for the Trey Lance trade, To me, that's pretty expensive backup to have for a guy that, because he's still on that third pick of the draft, guaranteed this year, next year money. So you didn't give up anything for him, so I guess that's all right. But he's kind of an expensive backup to have that you don't really trust if he has to come in. That's my issue with him. Is like, do you trust him if Dak gets hurt to come in more than Will Grier even? That was probably the other shocker was the Will Grier one. He was awesome in the preseason. Enough to secure a job, I would think. But
Yeah, when you have that type of game, even in the preseason,
yeah,
300-plus yards, couple touchdowns, and you had a couple running.
and it's a guy who's played a lot of quarterback the last, with college. And, it's like you've played a lot of quarterback. You're functional. I know you're functional. So that was actually a baffling trade. They must have been in love with Trey Lance in the pre-draft process.
Well, of course, it does crack me up, though, the meme that's going around. Jerry Jones, because Patrick Mahomes and Trey Lance, kind of look similar.
Yeah.
But, man.
Yeah, definitely a swing for the fences. But like I said, in terms of like cap-wise, it's kind of expensive.
Right. But the fact that you go from a top 5 pick and you end up as a backup somewhere and San Francisco only gets a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
Like that's cheap when it comes to that perspective. Now monetarily, like you said, it's
what they gave up,
hit.
no problem. If he wasn't making first round money.
So
No, and that was somebody brought up here, like why the Vikings would take the chance. Again, you'd have to figure out the caps in this situation. But you got Cousins, I think, coming off the books, or if he's not, he's going to get a massive raise. You can't tag him because it's like Washington tagged him twice, so that third time is like what 66% of like
It's ridiculous.
the top 5 average quarterbacks. So I think that's like over
Which now is
50. It's like 48 to 52.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not paying Kirk Cousins that much money. I mean, he's a very good quarterback, but that now we need to check ourselves. That's just ludicrous. So it's like bring him here, then you can see what you got with him. Develop him, and you can still super young. He doesn't have a lot of football that he's played. That nobody takes that into consideration.
Right.
He played the one game in the COVID year. So they only played like an April one or something like that. A May something in that time. It was one game. Because I think the FCS select teams canceled the whole year. It could have been the whole division, but I know they only had the one game, or he only played the one game. That's my tape. Now you got my tape. But he played 8 to 12 games the year before, one game, and then how many games now as a pro?
Played it 2, I think.
So I mean,
that's why that injury was such a big deal last year, is because he needed to play football.
And so it's not like, let's say in 2002 you wanted to trade for Jamal Anderson. There wasn't much tread on that type.
Yeah.
Trey Lance, there's still, if you figure in your room can work with him and build him up or break him down and rebuild him. For a 4th round pick in that hit, or you can see if you can do something with the money. I don't believe you can. It's the rookie contract, but
Right. Yeah, because they're not paying a lot of cash because 49ers paid most of it.
Yep.
It still counts against your cap. So Yeah, the owner doesn't have to fork out a bunch of cash, but the cap still is.
The Vikings have been in cap purgatory for the last 8 years, so that's why you see everybody get jettisoned.
Yeah, eventually it's like I say, you're putting it on a credit card, and eventually you got to pay it. You know, Rams eventually had to do it. Bucks eventually had to do it. They're doing it now. So, but if you win a title, it's worth it. But if you're like the Vikings, it was like, that was kind of worthless.
Yeah, because you never want to go on that full reset.
Right.
It's like the Jets will have to do in a couple of years.
Yeah. The Dolphins will do it in 2 years. So.
Kansas City, I can imagine at some point in time. They might get lucky, though, because Kelsey might retire.
Right. Yeah, they've done it in a way where they draft so well that they get enough cheap guys. That's how they've been able to do it, is they draft well. So.
But then anytime somebody's like, oh, I don't want to really get rid of this player, it's like, can't keep him. It's just, you got so many eggs in other baskets. To know Mahomes' contract, if you look again at the annual the average value or whatever, I think it was 8th, 7th, 8th, or 9th, somewhere in there now.
Yeah.
But I think he's sort of smart enough where, well, his marriage decision, that was a life loss there. But it's always been said you need to win that Super Bowl and that rookie contract for a good quarterback, or else it'll be a struggle because they command so much of the cap. It's like when you got somebody playing 44, 48, $50 million, that there's not a lot of room to pick up all these great players. So thoughts on your Dolphins? Instead of ending with the Dolphins, I want to get your thoughts right away.
Well, a part of me says this is the best team they've had since '92, probably. But that's like the first 25 guys. We are built so much like the Rams a few years ago. We can beat anyone if everyone's out there. But you're going to have injuries, which we've already had one with Ramsey missing half a year. So I just wonder that war of attrition, how that's going to hit us. So I don't see them winning more than 10 because of that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they won 7 if it got bad again. Playing special teamers a corner and all that junk. But I'm semi excited, but I'm also just like, because the AFC is so tough. A bad month, they're done. And that's what I worry about is the random injuries, not just to my quarterback. Just it could be Tyreek Hill gets a high ankle sprain for a month, or whatever. There's just nothing behind the top 25 guys. It's rough, but the top 25 is as good as it gets, so they can beat anyone on any given day. But yeah, we're gonna have to get that injury luck the Rams got a few years ago. Hope, but I find it fascinating. We are keeping $12 million in cap space, and I think that's if we need to pick someone up in the middle of the season because our depth's so bad. And the Rams did that same thing. Remember, they had to get Eric Weddle when their safety went down. They went and got Eric Weddle out of the time. Went and got Odell.
Yep.
It might be a similar thing you see with the Dolphins this season, where if someone goes down, like Teron Armstead, who's already been ouchie, don't be surprised if they use that money. That's why they're keeping that money there. Otherwise, if you're going for it, why wouldn't you spend to the cap? And I think that's why. Is they're waiting just in case because he knows he's got a problem with that. But
at least this year you got a competent backup quarterback that helps.
Yeah, I like Mike White because I don't have to change the offense when he comes in. Where Skylar Thompson, you have to completely change what you're doing. He just doesn't make quick enough decisions, so you have to make a one-read thing. And Mike White does make quick decisions. Sometimes it's to the other team, but he at least gets rid of it. He's not afraid to sling it. So I
No.
like the backup, but yeah. So I'm optimistic, but I also just know there's injuries that happen, and when that happens, how good are we going to be? But I think we're a top 8 team in the NFL right now, is where I'd put us, and that puts you in a chance to win it. You know. And yes, supposedly they were, but I think this was a we will just take him from you for nothing situation. He was never giving up a second round pick,
No.
maybe not even a third. I think this was a hey, because we could have signed Dalvin Cook for $6 million, but he was only offering him like 3 or 4. You know, this was you're a luxury item type of situation, and that's what it was. I don't think it was ever that serious. It was, hey Colts, he doesn't want to play for you anymore. Just give him to us. And then the Colts did this stupid thing. Like, we'll give us Jalen Watt. That's how I think it went. I don't think we're actually all that serious about it. We would acquire him for nothing.
Yeah.
But we're not going to give up assets and pay him.
No, there
That
will
was
be
not happening.
no players coming from Miami.
Yeah, like we'll trade you Jeff Wilson if you want. Okay, we'll just do that.
One of those guys that's in the backfield.
Yeah. So yeah, like I don't think it was ever that serious. I really don't.
You finally got rid of your cornerback, first rounder from what, 2020?
Yeah, poor guy just can't find the football in the air. He's just so bad when it's in the air. He just can't find it. So,
What do you think about the guy that got back from? I think what Taylor
well,
helped.
at least he helps you on special teams because he does gutter work. So at least I know he's useful right off the bat. Where the other guy, Noah, didn't do any special teams work. So I will say at least I'm getting something. And out of Kentucky, he had good size. They're honestly very similar where they have good size. If you looked at him, you're like, that should be a good corner. But it hasn't worked out for either of them. But at least he plays special teams. So I figure get some value out of it. And he's cheaper. Because he was a second rounder, not a first rounder.
Yep.
But
Yeah, that.
I don't think if he has to play significant snaps, you know the season went off the rails again.
What else do you think about the East? We'll stay there, the AFC.
The Bills are giving me weird vibes. Like that used to be like a happy family, and the last like year or so, there's a lot of commotion going on there. I still think they have the best roster, 1-53, but
Yep.
The vibes coming out of there is not good, and it's all about the vibes, you know.
It's not good vibes only there.
Yeah, so, but I still think the Bills probably still the cream of the crop. But the Jets have the best defense. But they have the same problem the Dolphins kind of do. There is nothing behind these guys. Heaven forbid, like Sauce Gardner gets hurt for a month, or even DJ Reed gets hurt for a month. They only have 3 good offensive linemen. So, yeah, I like the Jets D. Their offense, though, it's Garrett Wilson, the 2 backs, and Aaron Rodgers. And one of those backs is coming off the season-ending ACL. I think they're being overhyped a little bit, but I do love the defense. And defense keeps you in games. So you keep it close. You have a veteran quarterback. That could win you 10 games, you know?
I'm not a fan of them bringing in Lazard just because I think he'd be better with the Jets. He's not the number one option. But again, this
Here's
is
what's hilarious. Rodgers would complain every year how the Packers didn't give him enough help. He goes to the Jets and then requests two of the guys that he's had pretty much the whole time he's been there in the last few years. That just, the irony of that is just hilarious. Like, wait, so you want the guys you were playing with over there that you complained that wasn't talented enough to begin with? That cracked me up. That was very odd.
yeah, he's a treat. I'm glad he's New York's problem. That'll be a
Yeah,
a fun
I still
story.
hope he's not good.
If they still have like any like a 1-3, I mean that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So I've always said the Jets match up with the Dolphins better because of their corners and stuff. But yeah, I still think the Bills are the cream of the crop. The Patriots are better than people think, and now they have Bill O'Brien back, which that'll make their offense functional. I still don't. That's the most puzzling thing of last offseason.
No,
I still would love to be in the room when he decided that. Like, he can't be that dumb.
no.
But so they're going to be improved too. They're going to be that pain in the rear team to beat every week. That you're like, why am I in this 16-14 game again? You know, that kind of thing. Because their defense is legit too. So, but I still think they're the fourth best. I would say Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots is how I would rate it.
And that could be a division that everybody's over 500.
Yeah, theoretically.
AFC North.
Everyone's good. You know, like the Browns, assuming Deshaun Watson just hasn't forgot how to play football, which is possible because he sucked in training camp again. I haven't heard one good report of training camp. That he sucks again. Because if he's good, they have a great offensive line, Nick Chubb. You got Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, then Njoku. That offense should be like smoking. So they're kind of like a sneaky, everyone just figures they're finishing last, but that's a good squad. And then on defense, they can get after you. You know, they don't always play to their potential, but Denzel Ward's always hurt, and I think he's hurt again. But the Steelers, Kenny Pickett, he is getting a lot of hype now for a guy who threw like 7 touchdowns last season. But their defense is, they're going to get after you. They'll probably lead the league in sacks, would be my guess. Assuming TJ Watt plays those. And then the Bengals lost both their safeties, which I think is a sneaky big deal. Bates and Von Bell aren't there anymore. So those are your safety blankets.
Literally.
So now you have a second-year guy and a guy that used to play like backup for the Rams, a Nick Scott guy. They're gambling with that in the secondary, but their front seven's free. The back end's a concern. Their offense is fine. And then the Ravens, supposedly it's a new offense now. So it's supposed to be a faster, you're going to let Lamar throw more and play more spread, which theoretically should fit him more. You know, they actually have some receivers, kind of. I love Zay Flowers, the rookie. Rashad Bateman can't stay on the field, though. Odell can't stay on the field. Mark Andrews is awesome. But, so I would say if I was to handicap that, it would probably be Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. But I could see any of that ending up another way. Like, people are really high on the Steelers. Like, their team's basically the same as last year.
Mhm.
You're just banking on the rookies from last year being twice as good, which is very possible.
Yep.
But if they are only incrementally better, then you're looking at 8, 9, 9, and 8, and that's not going to be good
AFC South.
enough. Ugh. This is probably the worst division. It's pretty much Jags and everyone else, and I don't think the Jags are some like unstoppable force. It's just this division's bad. So the Titans, it's more, does Hopkins, Tannehill, Henry have another year left in them? If they do, they can win. You know, they could be right there because the division stinks. But because their defense is still solid, Tennessee is what they are. You know. If they can run for 150, 200 yards, they'll be good. If not, they lose. You know?
Mhm.
Pretty simple. The Texans have gotten a lot better. Now, they're not a playoff team, but they went and signed like a bunch of veterans to mix with these rookies, which is smart. A lot of these teams do the rebuild. Oh, I'm going with all young guys, which is the dumbest thing you can do. Because then you're like, well, how do they know what to do? If you're playing beside another guy that doesn't know what he's doing. So
Mhm.
they have a good mixture, and I love the D'Amico Ryans hire. So
Yep.
the Texans are going to be another one of those like, why am I in a game with the Texans in the fourth quarter? Now they'll probably lose it, but they're not going to be embarrassing. You're not beating them by 30 this year. You know,
No.
the Colts is just a train wreck. That you want to talk about bad vibes? That's all of the Colts.
Yeah.
Darius Leonard now has a concussion, or Shaq Leonard, whatever it wants to be called. That guy felt like he hadn't played in a year and a half. You know, on defense, he's their best player. On offense, you have Michael Pittman, and that's literally it. That's literally it.
Yeah, their tight ends. Tight ends are solid, but I mean,
Yeah, like,
the big question is
I mean,
Richardson.
yeah, they're big targets. I would say, like they're like the 6'6".
Yep.
You know, which is great for the red zone, but you got to get to the red zone.
Yeah.
I'm worried about how they're going to do that. But so yeah, I feel bad for Anthony Richardson because maybe if he's good, then you know he's the real deal because he would have had zero help. There's no fluke in that. That's for sure. So I think they're the worst team in that division, not the Texans. Most people have the Texans as the worst. I think the Colts are the worst. But yeah, Jags division, and you know, unless something really crazy happens with injuries and stuff.
And that could be when I see somebody finishing under 500 and winning the
Yes.
division.
Yes. That's why I still think the Titans are like in the race. You know,
Yeah.
they're not getting a wild card spot. But yeah, if you can keep that at the 9 and 8 range, you know, which is possible, then they've got a shot.
Like you said, don't sleep on the Texans because again, D'Amico Ryan's plenty of tight defensive games.
Yeah.
He's been through the trenches on that side. Again,
I think they're going to be really entertaining to watch. I think
Yeah. I'm hoping they're playing a hard-nosed defense, and Stingley can do something.
Yep.
You did okay last year, but number 3 overall pick, I don't know.
Right. And then
Probably
Will
the-
Anderson's ready to play now, so that was the advantage of taking him as he's ready to play. You know, so yeah, I like the Texans.
And
I
they
would
have-
definitely bet they're over on the over/under win total for that,
Yeah, if it's like 5.5,
which I'm assuming that's what it is in the 5 range.
I will say the second toughest division. Foosball, that AFC West. Is that Oakland, Las Vegas? And
Yeah,
They
it's
can't
dysfunction.
get out of their own way. They just cannot get out of their own way.
Right. You got a pretty
Don't be
good
saying
squad. But just
Chandler Jones today. Chandler was very upset on Twitter. I saw that
that
in
is weird.
ESPN.com had an article. Well, what's it say here? He's just like rifling off on McDaniels, the GM, and I think the
Supposedly,
defensive
what? Won't let him come to the facility to work out.
Yeah.
Weird. Very weird. And now I would notice just before I came on, they restructured Jimmy Garoppolo's contract for this year. So why are you making $17 million in cap space for? That's a very because who's left to sign really, unless you there's some trade in the works that. And I don't even know who to speculate that. I mean, they could use a defensive tackle, but there is no chance in hell the Chiefs are trading Chris Jones to the Raiders.
No.
Not a chance in hell that happens. So I have no idea why you would, because you remember every time you restructure these contracts, you're paying more the next year.
Yep, you're kicking it down.
You're lowering it this year, and then you just grad. So why you would want to do that with Jimmy Garoppolo is number one weird. But the fact you made all of a sudden $17 million in cap space for what? So that's a thing to watch out for here the next week.
I can tell you how I feel about McDaniels and failed head coaching. So
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, I hope they fall on their face.
Yeah, he shouldn't be in charge of stuff.
No.
Like, hey, this is your thing. You are actually good at designing an offense. This is your thing. Don't touch anything else. Don't talk to anyone else. Don't, Yeah.
You're not going to make personnel decisions. You're not going to be the head coach. You can be the OC. That's what you can do. You've done it well. Exactly. Anytime you're giving the keys to the car, you fucking immediately put it in drive and crash. Like you don't see the light pole there. Oh, I'm going to go. Boom, done. That's it. Come on, John. Every time. Every time. You don't have control of anything. Ever. It's been proven.
It's a shame, too, because they have one of my favorite players in the NFL, Max Crosby, to watch. We want to talk about a guy who goes 100% all the time. That's like an old school guy right there,
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and like I said, it's unfortunate. They actually have a good squad. But I just don't think there's any way they make the playoffs with what's all that's going on there.
No, and a lot of chatter talking about like throughout the off season, like what the hell's Hunter Renfro's role gonna be?
Yeah.
A lot of like, oh, let's get rid of him. He had a down year. He's hurt. That's okay. Right. I mean, is that what happens now? It's like, oh, you got hurt. Your numbers don't match the previous year. Well, that's why you got hurt. It's not like you suck.
Yep.
So that takes logic, though, Dave. And
there hasn't been
theoretically with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Hunter Renfrow, that should be a problem for people. Theoretically, and Josh Jacobs in the backfield, who still should have a year or two left of tread. So yeah, theoretically, their offensive line is mediocre. But that's most of the league. You'll find out. I went and looked at offensive lines. Everyone's has 3 good linemen, and that's it. Outside of Chiefs, Eagles, Lions, it seems like every offensive line has about 3 good players.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting so bad. It's the worst I've ever seen it. I think there's better pass rushers than ever, better wide receivers than ever, those edge positions than ever. But offensive line, I think it's the worst it's been in a long time. Maybe ever.
That's such a problem when you try to sign someone paying up the nose to get someone.
Oh yeah, and if they are available, you have to wonder why.
Yep.
Because I don't even care if you're kind of overpaid. Wait, you're good and consistent. Why would I get rid of you? There's probably a reason he's got a back that's barely hanging on, or don't look at his knee, something like that. Like, yeah, I love when people are like, "Well, you just need to go out and get a lineman." There isn't any to go get, unless you want to pay a 38-year-old that you just hope. I mean, you saw what was it? The Cowboys were talking to Jason Peters.
Yep.
Guy's like 40.
In the last 4 years that he's tried to play, it's been like 2 games and he's gotten hurt every time.
Yeah, and it's like, we make fun of him, but that just shows you there is no one to go get.
No. When that's your best option available, on the street, somebody with constant back and knee issues, it's like, huh, okay.
But yeah, I started looking because I was like, oh, the Dolphins always need an offensive line, and I'm like, there literally is no one to go get. And then I start looking at other teams, and I'm like, well, theirs kind of stink too. And you realize, well, mine's not as bad as I thought it was.
No.
Outside of a few teams, like I said, Browns, Lions, Eagles, Chiefs, probably. Everyone else is 2 or 3 guys. They have good players. Then it's guys. Just dudes.
What else do you think about the West besides the Raiders being?
Man, I so want to say this is the Chargers year. You want to say it, but can you just bring yourself to do it? Because they literally, they're one of the teams that actually has 4 good offensive linemen. I think they have a questionable right tackle, but other than that, they have all the skill positions, theoretically. Now, one of them always gets hurt, but if you can keep it to one, you're still okay. Defense, you don't really have any holes except for maybe middle linebacker. Is Eric Kendricks. That was getting rid of your best linebacker was the only weird thing. Tranquil. That was weird. But I think Kendricks was more for the running game because you can't stop the run.
Mm.
But outside of Joseph Day, no one stops the run in your team anyway. So I think just embrace who you are. You know what I mean? But yeah, I like their squad really. I'm assuming J.C. Jackson can be his Patriot days, not whatever the hell it was last season. Again, hurt some of it, so you don't know if he's healthy. It's a completely different defense, so he went from playing man to playing zone. He looked lost. So.
And then Rashawn Slater being healthy, that's going to be huge too.
Yeah, like I said, your offensive line should be able to push people around. But I don't know if you have the running backs to Eckler's good, but he's not like a downhill, over. Josh Kelly seems to play good for 2 weeks and just disappears. Who's the other guy you got in there? You got another one.
No, if we could get a full season or a Mike Williams and Keenan Allen too, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, if you could just get it where only one of them gets hurt, I think you'll be fine. Because you still have Palmer and Quentin Johnson.
Quentin Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, you got enough weapons, but you don't want to have the old SNL. They're not ready for primetime players. I mean,
that's true. But
you got to come in for a series. Hey, that's fine. Good. We'll give them a bruiser. But
I think I'd give them the best roster in that division, though. I think if I had to say, I think the Chiefs probably had the second best roster in that division. But the Chiefs are the hardest team to beat in the NFL. You leave every week going, we could have won that game, and you never do. So, you know that it's the Chargers, where you almost play them almost every time, and you're like, could have won that game. But we did. And then you got the Broncos, who I love the Marvin Mims kid they drafted, but Jerry Jeudy's already hurt, shocker. Javonte Williams, you don't know how he is after the injury.
Yeah, they're going to slide him in.
I like the P. Ryan. He fits Sean Payton to a T. So you'll probably actually see too much Samaje P. Ryan. You'll be like, we're probably using this guy too much. But their defense is good, not great.
Yeah, they got worse.
Yeah, you have the best corner in the league, But yeah, it's unfortunate. If you're in the NFC, you had a shot. But being in the AFC, I don't even think they have a shot.
No.
And I assume Russell Wilson is going to play better this year. And he played better towards the end last year, by the way. Like, he wasn't garbage all season. But you started seeing flashes towards the end. And he's in better shape, I noticed, this year. He didn't come in fat. So maybe he's committed. Sean Payton and reinvigorated him, maybe.
Well,
That's a team where I think you're another year away from the improvement.
Well, they should be better than last year.
Yeah.
By like tenfold, but it's going to be dependent on how well the offensive line plays and if Russell still has the flashes of the Russell of old of moving out of the pocket and using his legs. Like you said, towards the end of the season, he had a little bit more free reign to do a little things, and you saw more of Russell in his element. And they need more of that, even though you have Peyton, who's, from a head coach perspective, is more of a pocket passer type coach.
Yeah.
But he also had Drew Brees. Drew Brees was a pocket passer. That's what he was. Russell Wilson is not a full-on pocket passer. So you have to figure out where the happy medium is between Sean Payton and Russell and find out what's going to work best for the offense. So,
and it might help him because I'm pretty sure he was an offensive coordinator for the Cowboys when Romo was there before he got the job in New Orleans.
that sounds right.
So if that's the case, they would have been fairly some similarities of, not following a script to a T,
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's
So, maybe that. And that worked.
Russell still needs structure. He's not like a Peyton or an Aaron Rodgers who basically they don't need an offensive coordinator.
Right.
Yeah.
They go out there and they are the offensive coordinator. And I'm using those two guys because, Peyton was known for that. Aaron is another one in which, there may be plays coming in from the sideline, but if he doesn't like it, he's going to call whatever he wants to call off of his thing anyways, because that's his personality. Peyton was he was phenomenal when it came to shit like that. So that was not an insult to an offensive coordinator when Peyton did it, right?
Right.
With Aaron, it's like I'm Aaron Rodgers. Fuck you. Like, I'm gonna do what the hell I want. That's just his personality. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, okay, yeah, this is Denver's year. I saw a lot of things that they did in the offseason as it pertains to free agent pickups. They're trying. They're trying.
He's trying, right?
And the hardest part is, you give up all that you did for Russell, and then you give up more for Sean Payton. And it's like, I would rather you go and freaking win games to where you're not given, a top 6 or 7 pick to somebody. That's the part that sucks. But it's one of those in which it depends on what team decides to show up and play. Their defense is definitely not. They are not as good going into this season as what they were last year. Because last year they kept him in games.
Yeah.
This year, maybe I'll be in for a welcome surprise, but I just, the 41-0 to the Rams, in the preseason, I think that was a fluke. But, still, it's like most teams don't get shut out 41-0, even in the preseason. So that says something as it pertains to like your second and your third string guys, that they have some talent. Now they have to figure out what's going to work and who's going to actually fit what role and see what happens. But the only thing I'm going into this season is they should be better in the record books than what they were last year. Outside of that, I'm not expecting much. I'm not. So.
Yep, I think that's correct.
Well, that and you get rid of Brandon McManus.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I don't get getting rid of him. The
Getting rid
kicker,
of who?
McManus.
No.
Look at his production though over the last 3 years. It has declined. It's declined. Like he's getting into his own head, which as a kicker, you're destined to just fall off the face of the earth. So I don't think the answer is Will Lutz either, but
That just goes back. Hey, I'm familiar with that guy. That guy's made big kicks for me. Let's trade for that guy. That was kind of
so it's, and I'm okay with that. Maybe that's what drives him to do better because of Peyton.
yeah. He actually said that.
McManus was a mainstay in there for a while. He was automatic. Like it didn't matter. 56, 58, 60 yards, he was automatic. PATs automatic. But over the last few seasons, he has lost them games because of missing kicks. So I was surprised too, to be honest, because he's been the mainstay for, he was pretty much the last remaining Bronco from the Super Bowl 50 win, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to know when you got to move on. And when your production declines over the last few years, sometimes it's time to move on. So that's my opinion.
If they didn't get Lutz, that would have been something different because, again, you've seen like the retreads of that lower tier of kickers, the Michael Bagleys, the Matt Gaze. I mean, these guys that come, Cairo Santos, Rodrigo Blankenship. It's like, okay, Zane Gonzalez, you get like a 58-yarder, you won us a game. Zane Gonzalez, you missed the 34-yarder the next week, we cut you. I'm like, I mean, the rope on a kicker is literally like a fingernail.
But you also have to remember, Denver had Maher.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another one too.
So they had a kicker in place going into the season, and he did all right.
That's not one. Him, Zerline, any of these guys. You had your moments, but they were like the McManus moments. That's several years ago that you were reliable. Now we're bringing in an older guy and hoping it's. I'd rather work with the guy that I know has been here. I know knows. And again, sometimes it's always about that new scenery, change of scenery. That might be the best for everyone. But if I'm staying even keel, I don't want to do that. That's not like a move in the right direction. That's like, well, I threw it at the dartboard. That's the name that came up. Let's hope he goes. And I mean, Maher's made some monster for Dallas, but again, that's 6-7 years ago.
They were prepared to go with Maher for the season, and Lutz just happened to kind of fall in their lap, so to speak. And for something like that to be reunited with your past head coach, who you've made big kicks for before, it's one of those in which the higher percentage of the time it's a match made in heaven. We'll see. But, I wasn't surprised that Denver eventually moved on from McManus. Because, I would sit there and cuss at the stat lines because I couldn't watch the games because I'm not paying for, NFL ticket. And looking at, 1 for 3. And we lose by 4. You make both those other kicks, that's a win. Well, theoretically, it's a win.
Right.
You got to put things into perspective, and I get that. But, when you're looking at the overall body of work when it comes to an NFL game, it was time for him to go. It was time for us to move on. They were ready to go with Maher. And like I said, Lutz just kind of fell into their lap. We'll see. I may be saying the same thing about Lutz at some point during the season. We'll see. Like I said, I expect them to be better when it comes to wins and losses this year than what they were last year. But I don't have high expectations. I had higher expectations going into the last season because the defense was freaking stellar. Almost all the receiving core was healthy. And then it was like Russell Wilson forgot how to play fucking football. So.
And you had Nathaniel Hackett, who I make fun of a lot. I still don't get how that guy gets jobs.
I don't either, but that
was the one thing I was happy when he went to the Jets. I said that may keep them from being very good on us.
I think it was dumb bringing him in as the head coach. He wasn't ready.
No, he wasn't head coach.
But it's no different. When Denver went after Josh McDaniels, he wasn't ready. He's still not ready to be a head coach.
No, he doesn't have the personality to be a head coach.
Yeah, he is an offensive coordinator, and that's what he needs to stay. Being a head coach is not his thing. But, everybody's going to get their chance. Usually. And eventually Las Vegas will realize that was a mistake and they'll find somebody different, or they won't.
I know who the next head coach is going to be.
Dave Archer?
He coaches in Boulder right now.
Deion Sanders?
Yep. You wait.
One thing is that owner doesn't have much money, like cash wise. So and I still don't know, are they paying John Gruden, or because of what they found, do they not have to pay him? That's something I need to look into, because if they're paying John Gruden, because Prime's going to want
a ton,
$6, $7, $8 million a year at least. So that's the only thing to look at. But you're right. Theoretically, that would be perfect. But especially if they're still paying John Gruden, I just don't think he's going to have the cash for it.
Yeah, if you have to still pay Gruden. To terminate McDaniels, I don't know how long his contract is. Then you pay Prime. It's like, man, that's $25 million in coaches.
Yeah.
Come on now. Hunter. I like that Travis Hunter. It's playing both sides of the ball. He's going to be...
Yeah, he'll just have to decide which one he's better at.
Right now, I don't know.
Right now, it doesn't matter. You can get away with it.
Yep.
But as you... Probably next season, it's like pick one, and then we'll occasionally, in situations, usually at the other one.
Sort of like the Charles Woodson, we used to do that with
Right.
Michigan.
Find out what you're best at. But this year he can do it. But for draft purposes, I think it'll be better if he picks one. Find out which one you're better at.
NFC East.
I'm trying to make someone an argument other than the Eagles.
I heard you talk about Washington.
Yeah, I like Washington, by the way. I do. I like Washington.
If their $8 trillion D line can stay healthy,
Yes.
that would be
Yeah, they're going to be a problem, you know. And I actually like their offense. I think it's like sneaky good offense. Dotson and McLaurin. I like the running backs. And I think Sam Howell's like decent. You know. So I like it. I like for them to like contend for the final wild card. Like I think they're better than the Giants. I think the Giants take a step back. The Cowboys have led the league in forced turnovers the last 2 years. What's the chances you keep that pace up? That is usually not a consistent stat for defenses that they keep up. So let's say you cut your turnovers forced in half, or then that would make Dak Prescott to have to be like MVP level to make up for that. So unless you see that happening, I think it's Eagles division pretty easily. Because, I mean, maybe they can keep just forcing the turnovers at this unbelievable rate. But you have to assume you're not going to do it 3 years in a row. It's just not usually what happens. So if they cut in half, then yeah, you're going to have to make it up somewhere. So Dak's going to have to be MVP level Dak, which he does show flashes of in his defense. But way too many turnovers last season. But yeah, the Eagles still have the best roster. The only thing they don't have basically are middle linebackers. I mean, Jacoby Dean's okay, undersized, but so they're made to play with a lead. So if you can find a way to get a lead early, that defense can be had because you can run it down their throat.
yeah.
They get up 14 zip on you, it's done. You know, they led the league in sacks by what, like 20 last season? They had like 70 something sacks. So yeah, they're built to play with a lead. You know. So I am interested to see though, now that you know what to expect from Jalen Hurts, what do defenses do differently? That is the most fascinating thing with him is, do you make him throw more?
A year of film for him.
Let them kind of move the ball in between the 20s and then do the clamp. You know, I'm very curious to see what they do. Because it was basically Jalen Hurts running or Jalen Hurts 40-yard pass. You didn't see 7-yard routes, 8-yard routes. You know, are you going to make him do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, where we keep the guys, you know. So that's what I'm curious to see if defensive coordinators can make him do the intermediate and see how he does it. Because it was very either I'm running or I'm throwing deep. That's basically what it was. So, but yeah, like I said, the Giants, boring, but they'll stay in games. But they got so lucky last season. They were probably the luckiest team in the league last season. So they kind of reminded me of the Raiders the year prior, where they won like every close game. You know, you're just not going to do that back-to-back years. So. Eagles division still, Cowboys still a playoff team. Washington, I like them to have a winning record. 9-8. Most people think they stink. I like them.
Yeah, Trayvon Diggs can have 8 interceptions, 10 interceptions, but when they give up 8 touchdowns of 50 or more,
Right.
yeah,
that's the thing. When I just look at their stats in general, it's like the pace they've been on the last 2 years. I just don't know if that can. I don't think that's sustainable. So they're just going to have to get better.
yeah.
You know. So, I don't know.
NFC North.
This is where I may differ. Everybody's on the Lions nutsack. I kind of like the Packers still. What do you guys think? You think that's crazy? I still think the Packers might be the best team. The Lions are the most fun team. And I like that they added to their secondary. But
Yep.
assuming Jordan Love is functional, obviously you have to assume that. They have to run the ball more, right? You would think. With Jones and Dillon, you would think now, well, we're going to find out. Was it the offensive coordinator or Aaron Rodgers that wouldn't give it to Aaron Jones? We're going to find that out this season. You know? But because their defense finally towards the end of the year played like they should have. I thought that was a top 5 unit last year. And they should be that this year. I think they're very good. So I kind of like the Pack to win the division. I would say that's different. Most everyone I've seen has the Lions. And I get why. But the Lions, if you look at, I like to look at turnover-worthy plays for a quarterback because that includes dropped interceptions. If you fumble the ball in the pocket, your lineman jumped on it, you didn't get a turnover. Well, Jared Goff and Geno Smith were the two luckiest quarterbacks in that last season. And like I said, that stuff usually doesn't play out the next season. So is Jared Goff going to be one of the luckiest quarterbacks again? I like the Lions, though. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're garbage. I like it. But I think I like the Packers a little more. And the Bears should be fun. But I think I mentioned on Scott's show, like I feel like they're building their team backwards, where it's like I'm building outside in. So I think they're just going to be so inconsistent because of that. You play a team that can just rough you up front on either side of the ball, they're just going to get overwhelmed. But I like what they're doing. They finally have a GM that seems to know what he's doing. They're on the right track. They're still a year away. And who else we got? Oh, Vikings. Should be a regression there, you would think. Another one of the lucky teams of last season. You like Jefferson, but Alexander Madison and Ty Chandler are going to be your workhorses.
Hey, your former guys there.
Oh, yeah. And, yeah, I don't think they got better anywhere.
No, they are. The record in those games, like Duke said, was stupid. I mean,
Yeah.
they were.
So, again, you have to, as Stu said, won a lot of close games, so you have to assume you cut how many you won of those. Let's say you won 8 of them, and you cut that in half to 4. You won half of them instead. What is your win total? 7? And I think that's about what you're looking at. So that's the way I've got it. So I guess it would be Packers, Lions, Vikings, Bears. The Bears will probably be very fun to watch. Just lose games at the end.
The old NFC South.
Now, this is probably the second worst division, probably.
Yeah,
the most South.
The South will not rise again.
Yeah, because you got old teams like the Saints, the Bucks. With Baker Mayfield, by the way, for those who don't know, Baker Mayfield got another shot with the Bucks. So theoretically, he still has Evans and Godwin there. That should be functional. And I love Rashad White. He was my guy last season. I love him. But I think it's, even though I said the Derek Carr thing doesn't help that much, I still like the Saints because of their defense. I'll
Mhm.
take the Saints in the division. I was never a big Desmond Ritter guy. Even in college, I was shocked when I was starting to hear like he was like a second round. I'm like, oh, I've always placed him as like a pure backup, you know. So maybe he'll surprise me. But they actually did what the Texans did, though, and signed a bunch of random veterans. So that should up their floor a little bit. That was smart. So I guess I would still have Saints and still Bucks just out of pure. They still have a lot of the defenders there. Devin White, Jack Barrett, you know. So I guess I would beat a Vea. So I guess I'd go Saints, Bucks, Falcons, Panthers. Panthers have a good defense, but they gave Bryce Young nothing. Jonathan Mingo they drafted, who, again, one of those like perfect specimens, but didn't really do that much. So you don't know if he's good at football or not.
Yep.
But yeah, they didn't give him very much to work with. Hayden Hurst, you know. So Bryce Young, I don't look forward to having a big season. Put it that way.
I like Atlanta getting Bijan Robinson, but at the same time,
Yeah,
nothing
they
makes
ran
sense.
the ball well last season. So it's like,
Algier
how
was
much
great.
value does he add? You know, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe he does, but yeah, like I like the player. I don't know how many wins it adds to your total.
No. I just see that fucking division being a train wreck.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's bad.
When Derek Carr is the best quarterback in a division, and it's not even close.
Yeah, right.
Your other starters are Bryce Young, Desmond Ritter, and Baker Mayfield. Let that one marinate for a moment. I mean, I don't even care if the odds makers said Saints are going to finish last. I would take the Saints every time because there's no way I'd take anyone else.
Yeah.
There's just that whole division is. Atlanta would be the one team I'd sort of say, okay, let's see what they got going on.
Right, they're the most intriguing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tampa, they always, again, you knew it was going to happen post Brady. A lot of drama,
Right.
a lot of contract stuff going on.
Yeah, White and Evans both are frustrated. So.
And you have people that, if they were smart, they'd start moving people for picks.
Right, like when they went and signed Baker, it was like, oh, you're trying to sneak into the playoffs again.
Yep.
And it's like, and I get it, you know. And even as a fan, you're like, yeah, I want my team to win as many games, but no. like the Bears a couple years ago when they made the playoffs with like Nick Foles or whatever, completely set themselves back 2 years. You know, it's like all you do is delay it 2 years. So. Yeah, I think the Bucks made the mistake with that. But it's like, what am I supposed to tell all these veterans that I had to pay big money to? Oh, yeah, guys, we're not going to win. It's that weird, you know, we have to play Kyle Trask and just make sure he's not good. You know, it's just hard to tell the guys that. I think
when's the last Florida quarterback that's done well?
Right.
I'll give you the rest of the show and next week's show.
Exactly.
And I mean NFL, not at Florida.
Right.
What are you trying to say? Tim Tebow wasn't the greatest thing to ever come out of Florida? What?
Well, Could
The
have
thing
been.
is, was he the best one?
I was being facetious. Anyways,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
the guy couldn't throw.
I know. That's the worst part. Is he the best one?
I think the only one that would Spurrier go there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I thought
I
he
don't
went there
know
too.
the answer to that if he went to college. But yeah, he just played on bad Bucks teams.
Yeah,
But yeah, he wasn't bad. So
yeah, he gets
if he
tackled.
played there, it could be.
Yeah. Winning record? No. If 7-10 won the division, I would. That's an accurate statement.
So you bring up Tim Tebow, you get the jacket on. Everybody loves Tebow. Or hates him. One of the two. Oh, see, Spurrier went there. I knew someone would know in the chat. So there you go. Steve Spurrier is probably the best player.
Rex Grossman.
Oh, that's another good one. He
That's
did
why I
take
said
a team to the Super Bowl.
The joys of Google. Because
Yeah.
I was sitting there trying to think, because the only other one outside of Tebow that came to mind was Danny Werfel, which he didn't amount to shit.
Right. The Grossman I forgot about. Yeah, he's in consideration. He had two.
That's why I had to go to Google, because it's like the only other person outside of Tebow that I could think of was Werfel, and I'm like, he didn't amount to shit. So of course Tebow technically would be above him, but as far as productivity from the NFL or from the within the NFL perspective, I'm glad I went to Google. So
I feel like
Grossman.
Blue just watched the Gator documentary.
Chris Leak didn't amount to shit either. Oh, we lost Dave.
Hey, it wasn't me. All right.
We lost Dave briefly. So what does that leave from the division perspective?
So I think it's just for to the West, NFC West.
Okay.
And that I may have a surprise too, because I think the Seahawks might win that division and not the 49ers.
Really?
That's my other semi off the grid. People have Seahawks making the playoffs, but nobody has the. I don't think.
Dave said power just went out. It's back on, waiting for the internet to reboot. So you're going with Seattle over the 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers is another team. I just don't get good vibes from. I think their defense is going to slightly regress. Again, I don't think they're going to be number one, I should say. Still be in the top 10, but not number one. And Brock Purdy, people know who he is now. You know, you're not going to surprise anybody with what he can do or what he can't do. You know, so I think the 49ers regress a little bit, and the Seahawks. They had by far the best draft last season. I think they had another great one this season. And assuming Geno can just pick up where he left off the year before, they got it all. They got two great tackles to protect him. They've got two good running backs, three good wide receivers, good tight end. You know,
Seattle was surprising last year. I will give you that. I was not expecting Geno Smith to have a resurgence.
Right.
Because
that's where this prediction could just go way off the rails. If he turns into a pumpkin again, yeah, like well, it was just a fluke. But
I think I, and that's the thing that bothers me. And this is just a generalized statement that teams I feel have a tendency to give up on young quarterbacks too early.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, one bad year, you know, a few lapse in mental judgment, and it's like, fuck this, we're moving on. And it's like all these NFL coaches and management and everything forget that these kids coming out of college, going into the NFL, it's like night and day as far as the caliber talent that is in the NFL compared to what it is in college. It's just it's completely different. The speed of the game, the caliber players, it's not even the same. It's not fair.
Uh-huh.
But they give up on kids too frequent. And even 2 years isn't enough to give these kids a chance. And that's my opinion, of course.
Yeah.
I may be outside the norm.
Yeah, I think
But-
quarterbacks, I'm with you. I think 4 years is the minimum for quarterback. Now, I think other positions it can be 2. You better at least start seeing they're getting it. But yeah, quarterback, I'm with you. I think it's at least 4 before I
And
can
that's-
even write your book. And that's still, it's the
And
one
that's-
position you get better in your 30s.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's fair. But you know, at the same time, it's like not everybody can be a fucking Tom Brady.
Right.
You know, Peyton Manning was shit his first year. And of course, look at what he did. You know, not everybody can be, you know, these top tier guys, Montana, Young, Marino, these kids coming out of college and just being a phenomenal star athlete. It's not a fair assessment. And if teams are expecting that to be the case, well, then they need to stop drafting quarterbacks in the first round. Because that doesn't happen. It doesn't. It's 1 in 100. You know, so. But anyways, as you were saying, from the division perspective.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Dave. I like the Seahawks to win over the 49ers in the division. That was my hot take. I like what they're doing, man. I like the way they've been drafted. I like it. But I told him it could just go sideways if Gino actually sucks. And it was just one of those random, you got hot, and it was a perfect storm of stuff. But assuming that he just found the system that fits, the coach that fits, you know, they have everything. So I really like the Seahawks. And, it's a deal.
Speaking of Dion,
Yeah.
on a subway neck. Anyways, sorry. I just had to show that. I don't think I've ever shown it with Lou being here. And since you said Dion was his favorite player of all time, Deion Sanders actually used to be one of our customers back before we were acquired by the company that I work for now. He had a phone system in his house that we serviced. Not that I ever got to go to, you know, Deion's house.
Question is, Lou, is how many toes does Dion have now? And that's a serious question.
How many what?
Toes. Because he's had a lot of problems with his toes. Well, because if you remember when he was playing towards the end, he had a major turf toe problem.
Oh, yeah, huge.
And I think that may has contributed to problems he's having now. And I'm pretty sure he's lost a couple. Okay, 7, I think. I thought it was a real thing. Like, I thought I was reading that he was at least in danger of losing toes. So he's got 7. Okay. Side note.
Yeah, no, a few years ago, the foot was in play, I think.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder, was it him playing on that all those years? And because that wasn't a 1-year thing. That was a multiple-year thing.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, did that affect circulation and stuff or whatnot? I don't know. So let's see what else was the NFC West. The Rams. I think they're done. Cooper Cup's already hurt. That sounds bad. When you're going to see a specialist of why I hurt my hamstring again. And he's coming off he's already had 2 major injuries in the league already. They're paying for winning the Super Bowl already. So
Isn't there speculation that they're looking at just slashing their team now?
yes. Yeah, because you got Stafford with half an elbow. So again, could you get a few games out of these guys? Absolutely. Don't be surprised if you see them win a big game. You know, they still have Donald, that stuff. But yeah, that team stinks kind of now. So, who else we got? Rams, Seahawks, Niners,
Cardinals.
Oh yeah, that's why we forgot. Cardinals are definitely. That's the sad part is the Rams aren't even the worst in the division. Cardinals. So yeah, I like Seahawks, 49ers, Rams, Cardinals. So I like.
So there you have it. Brad's picks for the NFL season.
What do you think, Dave? Do you think the 49ers can have the number 1 defense again? I think I see regression there. You think they're the number 1 again?
Are they going to what? Be number 1?
Be number 1 defense again? Because that's where I think the regression is going to kill them a little bit.
Baltimore used to be able to do it.
Right.
But they had at every level.
Right.
Elite. I don't think San Fran, I think, is going to be a lot. I don't think Purdy's, again, just like Gino, a perfect storm. I like Brock Purdy at Iowa State. This isn't like, jumping on now. I watched him at Iowa State a lot. I liked him there. So this isn't like some Tavares Jackson coming on and like, oh my God, what a stud. Yeah. No, this is a competent young man. I played in a pro style system with Matt Campbell. Matt or Dan?
Matt. He played with Matt.
And guess what? It shows. You're not playing in the fucking that zone read, lots of jet sweeps, you've got some of that sprinkled, but you've got a normal to a normal football fan offense.
Yep.
Their problem is, okay, now you've used Debo so much, and I know it's not defense, I'll get to that. You use Debo so much rushing and receiving. Now, if you scale back on his part, how is he going to feel? Again, I don't care about the feelings, but that's how it usually works out. It's like, I don't want to catch 6 balls for 39 yards and not even have a touchdown. I can't even say I have a touchdown that much. And then you don't rush with me because now you've got Eli Mitchell and CMC back. Kittle, can you stay healthy? Ayuk, what do you get out of him? The line losing McGlinchey to Denver, that's a big hole. Defense, you've got pieces, but I love Fred Warner. I love him.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be a different year for them on offense. Again, you get the tape on Purdy, and now you can scout around him instead of we're scrambling the week before a game to get the tape and try to figure out to put something in place to effectively thwart his efforts. I don't think they're going to be number 1. Will they be top 5? More than likely. I don't see a regression past 7. And I mean, again, that's
what I still think they're top 10, but yeah. And that's my thing is if they're not number 1 and the offense is average, that should equal some regression there, I think.
who's number one? I would not know. I'd love to say Washington. That D line should you shouldn't be able to block up any of them one-on-one. It should not physically happen. The talent that they have of all first rounders on that D line, and several of them are of the LeVar Arrington ilk and high first rounders.
Yep.
You should not. You need somebody that knows how to scheme stunts and blitz packages where that's conducive for that defense to actually do something, because that's going to be huge in their success. You get a turnover inside the red zone. Sam Howell, you have 18 yards to get 3 points. I'd love if you get 7, but don't fuck anything up.
Exactly.
So I think that's a team that nobody is, like you said, nobody mentions. Because there's sort of been that also ran. Ron Rivera, again, he's had plenty of playoff success.
Yeah, he gets a lot of hate, but the guy has taken teams that had no business being sometimes where they are to late in the playoffs or Super Bowl. You know, did it with the Panthers a few times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rookie of the year.
I'm taking quarterbacks out. Obviously, any quarterback that plays the whole time will probably win it. But I'll say Jordan Addison of the Vikings. He could have a big season, especially like second half of the year, and really take it. Playing alongside Jefferson. So I like Jordan Addison, the wide receiver of the Vikings, for offense. Defense, probably Will Anderson should probably put up stats in that defense, I would think.
I think he'll be on the field enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he doesn't have to compete with anyone to be on the field. So
their offense won't be able to stay on the field, and you won't be able to come off the field. So it's.
So those are probably my 2 picks for offensive and defensive rookie years.
I mean, Bijan would be one that people get excited. I was gonna say Stu.
Yeah.
That people get excited about. I just don't think he's not the full-time back. That's the thing. You don't have to put him in there for 30 carries. You've got Algier. He is a competent NFL back.
Yep.
He was just under 1,000 yards last year, like 970 or somewhere in there. This isn't some schlub. This isn't Bam Morris running 60 times for 213 yards. I mean, okay, then Bam Morris goes to the side and then he does some coke and deals some drugs and then he's out of the league. This is a competent back. So
yeah. I'm not on the Bijan train as much as other people are. I'm not, and like I said, I like him. I don't know if he's like an all-time great talent like everyone has. I'm holding the brakes on that. Like people draft, like if you're doing fantasy drafts, people draft him like around pick 6, and I'm like, I would draft him around the Joe Mixon, Najee Harris range. Like. I don't know. But like I said, I think he's good. I don't know if he's, one of those generational talents. Your Adrian Petersons, those kind of guys. And that's what he's played up to be. So we'll find out, because the Falcons have a solid offensive line. So it's not like, oh, he's behind crack. So if he doesn't do it, it's not because his offensive line stinks. So.
But then you've got, I'm sure, defenses, if I'm scheming against them, Desmond Ridder, you're going to beat me.
Right.
10 times out of 10. It's like they're making Bijan the next Texas Rose because of his size, the power, the finishes off a hit with. It's like,
Yeah.
no, Earl Campbell's in a different world than you. So you run over people that play for Kansas, that's probably like a step up from us. So you're running over us, basically. That's nothing to get excited about. Wait till you get to the NFL. Again, I haven't seen anything preseason wise yet. Don't think I will.
Yeah,
So
he had only a few carries, anyways. His first carry, he like jumped over somebody and everyone freaked out. But
they already got the bust going for Canton.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he is that special. We'll find out. But like Roshan Johnson would come in at Texas and average 6 yards a carry. You know, his backup went to the Bears, so it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And nobody mentions Gibbs much for Detroit.
We got the Texas guy in here, so he is saying he is a real deal, and no one's
Go
watched him
figure.
more than him.
Go figure.
The
Yeah.
question is he being a homer, or are you really saying?
The ears
I
were-
can, and I can see the Marshall Faulk because he can do it all. He can catch the passes.
Mhm.
Mike follows them more. Like, I like the kid. I
What?
watch a little bit of Texas because I live in Texas, and Texas is my team. But I sure the hell don't follow the Longhorns like Hook'em Mikey does.
Right.
So he's gonna know. He's gonna know out of any of them. No, Lou. Mike's usually pretty.
Even
He's
keel.
pretty harsh. Well, he's pretty harsh when he needs to be harsh with certain
Oh, yeah.
Texas players that go on to the NFL. I mean, and he's been fairly spot on with a lot of guys. So I'll give Mike credit when he knows his team very well. And from what I saw of Bijan, the kid is good, really good. But it's always one of those in which are they able to make the transition? That's what it always boils down to. So,
And he did have the receiving skills. So that's a huge plus for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so it's I'm a little biased myself too, because it's been a while since, a Texas kid is gone in the first round. So I want him to do well because I root for Texas guys drafted in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So I want him to do well. It would have been nice if he went somewhere other than Atlanta, because I think he could have been better elsewhere. But, it is what it is. So I like the kid.
And that's
I
where
like the
Detroit would have played at 6. That would have been. Take him there. Again, people still question it, but I'm like, they didn't exactly mop up moving down 6 spots. So,
Yeah, but Lou Cedric wasn't horrible either.
no.
He wasn't great, but he wasn't horrible.
And in that offense for Cincy, he wasn't like, they weren't going to change from Chad Johnson and Hushmanzada and Carson Palmer to start like running 30 times a game.
Well, remember he
little
started with the Bears.
The Bears, right?
But if I'm not mistaken, he ended up in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So you weren't wrong. But even then, at the time in which he came into the league in 2005, Chicago was garbage.
Yep.
Chicago was garbage. So it's some things you got to put things into perspective. And, is Cedric Benson a freaking Hall of Famer? No. Is Ricky Williams a Hall of Famer? No.
Mike Dick.
For different reasons.
But They were good. And to be honest, I could say they were great. Benson was a product of being in bad systems, I think. Ricky,
Ricky actually had Hall of Fame type years a couple
yes. If he would have laid off the freaking ganja, Ricky Williams would have been in the Hall of Fame. No doubt.
Yeah, I don't mind you smoking a little, but I mean that's literally your life. I mean, you're the Afro man of the NFL.
Right.
I mean,
he's a weird cat, man.
Well, and Mike bringing up Jamal Charles, he was another one. Like he was good, decent.
Yep.
But he definitely knew how to step up his game when he got into the pros. But then of course he kind of fell off because of he had started having problems holding on to the football.
Yeah.
Which, for the longest time he didn't have that problem, and then all of a sudden that became his detriment. But I think it was Lou who said Texas is known for having good running backs, and that's not an inaccurate statement. So their issue has always been longevity, if you think about it. I mean, Earl Campbell, I think, probably played longer than anybody else. And that's saying something. I'm probably wrong with that. But they didn't last very long in the NFL because they got used so much in college. The tread was already worn down a little bit when they even made it to the pros. So who gets MVP this year, bro?
I'll go Herbert this year. Because if I'm right that they win the AFC West, then that means he was probably MVP caliber. And even though I don't love Kellen Moore, he will play faster. And they were very slow and boring last year. You have a guy with that arm and you played like a dink and dunk style. It was very weird. But yeah, they should play faster, more big plays. I think I'll take Herbert as the MVP. And the media loves him, so that helps him.
So Herbert is MVP. That's interesting. I can't argue against the thought process behind it.
Yeah. There's plenty of other people you can pick over, but that's where I'll be a little contrarian, I guess. Applausible.
Imagine what that would do to his card prices. Since they've already baked in, like 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it may not move at all.
50% better than Kyler Murray.
Possibly.
4 times a better investment.
Burrow gets hurt.
That's
your backup in Cincy.
Oh, look at this. Lou with the hot take. He's going with Justin Jefferson.
Well, like Addison for Rookie of the Year, too. That you're going to have somebody that can run precise routes and when he's not driving his Lamborghini 150. So he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, MVP is always a tough one because there are so many high caliber players.
Yeah.
Like, so my good friend, and this was years ago, when Peyton got hurt before being traded from the Colts to the Broncos, And so he was out all year for the Colts, and the Colts absolutely sucked. Like they were horrendous that year. And he goes, put things into perspective. Peyton Manning should have won the MVP. And I was like, what? He didn't even play. Most valuable player.
Yeah.
Well, he's not playing. Your team sucks. Therefore, technically, he would be the most valuable player because him on the field, you win football games. I'm like, that's not wrong. That's not what the award is for. But if you put things into perspective, the thought process isn't wrong.
Oh, hey, Scott, you missed it. I gave the Packers love in this show. See what I did?
He may have been lying in the shadows because Scott has told us he watches the show, and I've always wondered. A lot of people always say they watch the show.
Was
But
he
we never-
lying in the shadows?
But we never see him in the chat. So good to see you, Scott, by the way. And yes, Brad did still pick your Packers to win their division. So AFC champion, NFC champion, and who wins the Super Bowl?
So I'm going back and forth. I guess I'll keep my Ravens Seahawks Super Bowl. That's what I have. We'll be contrarian. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay, so then who makes it to the AFC championship game in the NFC?
So it'll be, let's see, so the Ravens, we'll go Ravens Chargers.
Okay.
And Ravens beat the Chargers, so yeah. And then in the other one, we'll go Seahawks. I guess we'll go Seahawks Eagles. The Eagles fall short this time. The Super Bowl. That will be fun. We'll go with that.
So, Dave, any other questions? We are just over the 2 hour, 15-minute mark, which is an average time with Brad. Even with the technical difficulties early on.
Coach on the hottest seat.
Ooh.
Let's see. Let's see, a guy who could be fired. I'm thinking of a guy who could be fired in the middle of the year. I think it's the Saints coach, Dennis Allen. They get off to a bad start. That guy's going. So I'll say him. I'd say like he did most likely to be fired. And if they got off to any kind of bad start, he is one. Because again, that's a guy that shouldn't have that job. I don't know what they were doing with that, but anything else? That's the one that really stands out to me that could get fired first.
I think if Dallas doesn't win any playoff games, I think McCarthy's going to be out.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, for sure.
My opinion, of course, because everybody knows I hate Dallas, but
yeah, the reason why I say with like the Bucks is because they don't expect him to do that much.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Saints, because their division stinks and they're getting older, you expect them to win the division. So for some reason they started off 1-3 or whatever, maybe they would fire him. That's where my thought process is going. Just who would be fired first?
Washington,
Yeah, that could go on. Yeah.
depending on starts, if both of them start like a 1-4, 1-5, and it's ugly, especially Riverboat Ron, his seat always has the heat on. So,
Yeah.
And again, if you're going under new ownership or whatever the hell's going on in Washington, I don't know. You get
Now Belichick is not a one to get fired in the middle of the season, but it almost seems like Robert Kraft's looking for an excuse to move on. So if he doesn't make the playoffs again, I think it gives him that excuse to move on.
Yeah.
I feel like it's ran its course. It's a great run. Let's move on. And he's looking for an excuse to do it. So I think if he misses the playoffs, they'll just separate,
yeah.
Yeah, McDaniels is another one.
Yeah, I would say McDaniels, but that just comes back to does he have the money to pay him to go away for? Because I imagine it was a 4-year deal, so he's 2 years plus into it. That's the only reason why I didn't have it, but that's a good one. But yeah, he just seems to be very tight with cash because he supposedly doesn't have a lot of it, 4 and over.
And if the Chargers stumble out of the gate, you could very much see McCoy. Because he's been criticized quite a bit with some of his decision making. So some of that decision making comes back to some pretty big losses. You're sitting at the halfway point, and you're 3-5.
It was weird how the whole team seemed to get a pass for the 27-0 blown lead. It was very weird. Usually something happens at the end of the year that someone's paying for this. No one really did.
I did. I watched that game. I paid for it dearly.
Yeah, like normally there's a scapegoat, I guess is what I'm saying. But it was weird.
Yeah.
Like they were just like, forget it happened. And because of where they play, they can do that because no one cares there. That's what the worst part is. Like they should have stayed with the Rams and just they're such a good team. Fun can be fun, and no one cares. And it's kind of sad. At least in San Diego, the ones that did show up cared. They were lifelong fans. But, kind of sad.
Dave lost power again, briefly.
No, he was just remembering the Chargers loss and had to get off for a minute.
No, the light definitely went out. Is maybe that's the world saying that it's time to wrap this show up, Dave?
Oh, Vinny, are you on the Kenny Pickett train? To the moon? Or you just think solid
10-7.
normal?
I'd be happy with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd be happy with a wild card spot. Let him keep learning. Wish we could get some kind of veteran other than Trubisky in there because he freaking sucks.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph showed moments of brilliance this preseason, but he's not going to do anything.
All right.
I noticed that we're down Benny Snell. He's gone. I don't know where he ended up. But Najee will handle the rock. We did work on the offensive defensive line. Our secondary ain't bad. It's going to be a typical 10-7 season, I think, for them. Last year, down the road, they were close. Playoffs.
Yeah, they got hot at the end.
They have a wide receiving core that's got the skill of young money, but not the brain mindset of young money. If they could keep it that way, they might just be dangerous. Possibly.
Yeah, there's no way Deontay Johnson can catch 100 passes and not score a touchdown again. I don't even think that's possible.
And Pickens,
that was the biggest anomaly of the whole season. How does a guy catch 100 balls and not score a touchdown?
I'm just happy somebody's catching the ball.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, and not saying you should trade me tomorrow or pay me $7 million a year. Because
It's
that worked.
awful quiet in Pittsburgh land, isn't it?
It worked well for the dude that went to the. Can't even think of his name. Went to Chase Claypool. He's just doing dandy. Yeah, the Bears. So, and I think it was this summer. Who was it that was it Bell or no? It wasn't Le'Veon Bell. Somebody apologized to the Pittsburgh fans for saying I should have stayed where I was. I could have
that
been.
was him. Yeah,
Was
that
it Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, if he had it to do again, he would have stayed there. Yeah.
Good
No
idea.
crap, Sherlock. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have been 100-yard a game back, and back then we had the offensive line to handle that.
And what was weird is it isn't like he got paid way more money.
No,
It was maybe a couple million more. Like, it was so weird.
between him and Antonio Brown, I don't know.
but Brown has he has
Issues?
CTE. No, he has CTE.
I saw that he finally supposedly said that he had it. I don't know if that was.
Well, you don't, unless you are just a freaking crack addict, like whatever. Like, you don't go from normal to like off your rocker without something happening medically. So I feel bad for the guy because phenomenal ball player.
I do
Phenomenal. Too. But it's one of those in which like something's medically wrong with that guy.
Yeah. I wish he would have stayed put. I think the Steelers organization could have helped him with his mental stability more than other teams could have with the Rooneys. I don't know why I say that, but I don't know. There's just a structure in Pittsburgh.
Well,
other than like it's.
If it's CTE though, there is nothing that anybody or any I mean,
yeah,
it just,
you have a point. It's just those couple bad apples, and I don't even want to call him a bad apple because he could be, like you said, if he has CTE, that's no fault of his own. It's just, I don't know. People came to Pittsburgh like Claypool, and within 2 years, he wants to be paid like he's Jerry Rice. It just, dude, you're not even close. It doesn't make sense to me, but do what Connor did. Connor took his contract, he went somewhere else, and now he's doing pretty well in Arizona for himself.
Yep.
And he never had any ill wills, never bad mouth, never said he wanted a bunch of money. He just went where the wind took him. So we'll see. Jets, Super Bowl champions. Rodgers MVP.
Gosh, I hope not.
I'm going with crazy scenario 74. I don't know who's going to win. I don't even claim to know. I'm excited for hockey. But that's a different episode.
yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah, I can see 8 different teams winning the Super Bowl. I think there's about 8 teams that have a shot.
There's a lot. There's some good quality teams out there this year.
So, in other words, all your postseason teams have a chance.
Yeah, basically one NFC team and the rest of the AFC team. Yeah, it's all about which matchup do you get in the playoffs. Like, oh no, that was the one team I didn't want to play, or vice versa. Yeah, that's what it's going to come down to.
Where did Andy Dalton go?
Carolina.
Is he in Carolina now? He was in New Orleans last year, right?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Dave, wrap us up.
Seattle, Buffalo. Yeah, it's not earth shattering. It's not the Texans versus the Lions. Yeah, before the power goes out again, there's a pretty strong wind behind the system. As the window's been open the whole night, and all you can see is that curtain, just like a ghost is there.
Is he barking?
It could be. That could be the power going out. Thank you for Brad coming on, doing one of his tours of duty of the year. Staying up well past his bedtime. Talk about Denver's kicker for 25 minutes.
Hey, kickers are people too.
That was the highlight of the night, and we had 4 to 5 pages of notes and 7 to 12 note cards, bullet points.
You brought it up, Dave. That was all you.
I said it. He was right with me, though. It was like Usain Bolt was running a race against Butterfield. We were neck and neck. So thank you, Brad. Glad you weren't the one that had the connectivity issues.
Yeah, I was gonna say once I made it, I was good. It just took the 6 different things to try, but I got it. It's all about commitment.
Remember for next time.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking like. What am I connected to? Like I said, I think I'm gonna try the hardwire thing next time. Old fashioned.
We'll talk about the PBA next week. Some P. Weber talk.
I'll graciously miss that episode.
Hey, now it's a family show.
Says only you.
Does anybody got any Game Gear cards for sale?
Not for sale. I have a few, but not for sale.
Old habits die hard.
Hashtag facts.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in the chat. Always helps when you have a Hall of Famer grace us with his presence.
Yeah, it was nice to have Lou in here tonight.
Wow.
And with that, for Brad, Danny, and Steve, I'm Dave. It's been the IRP. Remember, collecting cards, absolutely wonderful hobby. The friendships that you forge in this hobby, that's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.